Episode 46, guys. Welcome back to the podcast. Chris looks like he's drunk and
Loaded up.
he loaded up. His face is puffy like he ate a cheesesteak. You ate a cheesesteak, didn't you?
I had an Oreo.
You're bloated
I had one Oreo.
and you're drunk.
No.
I want to start rumors.
Go ahead. I
You're
did go
drunk.
to a bar though. I did go to a bar before I started this video.
Okay. But you're
Cause
not drunk.
no, because somebody was having a birthday
Mm.
from work and they was having a get together at the local bar. So I told them, yeah, I'll stop in.
All right. Nice.
So I overextended my stay, and now we're recording late, and I might not get to hunt. It's all your fault.
You got kicked out.
The bouncer kicked me.
Good. I would have did the same thing.
Hush.
So, what's today's date?
The
Today's the
10th.
10th. So,
1 year anniversary from last year's buck. I got to get out there and shoot one tonight.
Okay.
This day
Maybe.
last year.
You might.
Shot a doe last night.
Yeah, you did. You did. You see any bucks last night or just that doe?
Nope. Just 4 does.
How
4
far?
does, actually. Yeah.
How far was it?
Oh, they was when I shot her, or just how far did they come in? Like, cause
How far was
I
your
sh-
shot?
about 23 yards. I shot. They were right under the tree though a couple of times,
Hmm.
which is hard when you got 4 sets of eyes on you.
Right. So
But
what else? Since the last time we recorded, I was actually in the hotel down at my farm bow hunting. What have you been noticing in the woods since then?
uh,
More.
I'm not having rut activity happening yet. Visual rut action.
Hmm.
I am not. I've actually noticed a lot of does or mamas with fawns running around without a buck behind them. Kind of disappointing.
Hmm.
Uh, I thought we'd have a lot of chasing action coming up. So
No, you missed it. They just weren't chasing where you were.
yeah, I mean they're chasing somewhere because
Well,
there's people dropping them.
yep.
You know.
I hunted public land yesterday, and well, actually, I hunted public land last Saturday. Today's Friday. Back up till last Saturday, I hunted public land, saw all kinds of chasing. I wasn't able to get out until yesterday. Hunted yesterday, saw chasing all morning. I actually got to see a really, really nice buck, and he was hot on a trail, and he was chasing a doe.
You
Uh,
missed.
nah, it was just like 45 yards, kind of in the brush, no shot. So it rained all day today, and I'm gonna head back out tomorrow.
Mm.
But I will say that I was getting kind of earlier in the week. I was getting a lot of cell cam pictures coming in
Mm-hmm.
of different bucks at the farm coming in, different ones, relatively small ones, but it was a newer ones that I haven't seen. And then all of a sudden yesterday, it just went
Yep.
just
I've checked.
plummeted.
I checked my trail cameras, and any activity was all at night, and it was all small bucks,
Mm,
6 points and under.
mm-hmm. And you're after a buck salad fork.
Salad Fork. I did see Salad Fork Monday night.
Yes, you did.
He came off the hilltop and came down into the plot and chased 4 doe around for a little while, and they weren't having it, so
Hmm.
they bailed the field, and he followed.
Gotcha.
Yep,
Well, I'm gonna throw a wrench into the mix here
wrench it.
and confuse you. You ready for this?
No,
Today's podcast is all about crossbow hunting.
nice.
And as you know, I have a story from what I got to witness
Yes,
on public land. And that really made me
torqued
mad.
you off.
Torqued me. It really torqued me. So I I know you have a crossbow
Yeah,
and occasionally you crossbow hunt.
yes. Sometimes I do.
Yep. And I want to give a opinion
Hmm.
on crossbow hunting, crossbow hunters, and if you think that it ruined hunting. And do you think that a crossbow hunter is a real hunter? Because I'll go first because I'm torqued.
He's torqued.
Torqued. I hunted Saturday, last Saturday, and when I pulled in the parking lot, public land, there was one truck sitting there, and I saw him. He pulled up after me, and I got out in the morning. I started, and he, as soon as I walked past his truck, he like opened his door real quick. He's like, "Hey, bud." He's like, "Where you headed?" So I'm heading all the way in the back. He's like, "Okay." So as I get back there, I see a little, some bucks chasing. Seen a few does. They were fired up that morning. On my way out, okay, I saw two deer that had arrows stuck in them. Two deer. I saw one coming out, and then as I was got on the main trail and walking, I saw another deer that had an arrow stuck in it. Two deer in one day, in one morning, within 10 minutes, right? So I'm like, what is going on with this? So the one ran straight out in front of me, was limping, had an arrow stuck in the rear. And I get back to the truck, and the same guy that I saw this morning, standing at his tailgate. And I noticed he had a crossbow, and he was missing some arrows. And he's like, "Hey man, did you have any luck?" I said, "No, I didn't, but I saw two deer back in the back, wounded, with arrows stuck in them." He started laughing, and he's like, "Oh, you saw them?" I said, "Yeah, I did." I was like, "Did you shoot them?" He's like, "Yeah, I did." I said, "Well, they're still back there. Like, why do they have arrows in them? Like, are you not like looking for them or what?" He's like, "Oh no, I shot them earlier in the morning, but I only looked for a little bit. And I just let them go." He's like, "I shot him at 80 some yards." I was like, "Oh, so you're shooting deer at 80 yards and wounding them?" And not like I got mad. Why are you shooting deer at 80 yards? And we kind of got into it a little bit. And so to me, I think you said it good the other day when I was telling you about this, but you have these manufacturers that, preach and stuff that these crossbows can shoot 100 yards,
Yeah,
100 plus yards and hit a deer. So
yeah,
it puts that in people's mind that they can do that.
yeah.
And here's my opinion on it. I grew up bow hunting, compound bow, vertical bow. I've been bow hunting for 25 years. I have never shot a deer past 38 yards. 38 yards. When I have zero problems with crossbow hunters. Zero. The only issue that I have with it, well, I have one issue. The only issue that I have with it is when you have guys like that doing dumb stuff. It's
Hmm.
not the crossbow. It's not the bow. It's not the tree stand we hunt out of. It's not the box blind. It's not this. It's not anything. It's the person. It's the person doing dumb stuff. That guy in that parking lot should never be able to bow hunt or hunt ever again. He should never be able to buy a license because he laughed about it the entire time. He thought it was funny that the deer was out at 80 yards and he's slinging arrows at him, thinking that he can kill him. And I will say, people kill deer at far distances. When you get a whitetail, it's harder than a moose and elk or something. You have a larger target. People can do that with a bow. I'm not saying it's impossible, but when you're in the woods trying to shoot through brush and whatever, trying to hit a whitetail at 80 yards with a crossbow, and you're laughing about wounding them and not making an effort to look for them, you should never be able to bow hunt again. It's not the crossbow, it's not the person, it's the person, not the weapon. You have to make good decisions about it. When you start going past 25 yards with a bow, the margin of error dramatically increases beyond that. 30 yards, 35, 30, 40, 45, 50. There's more room for error. So I don't think, I think it's, I've seen a lot of dumb stuff. I've been in hunting clubs where, yeah, guys shooting their arrows through plywood and reusing the broadheads. I've seen guys, you know, reuse the same broadhead 5, 6, 7 times. It won't even cut paper, and they're shooting deer, and then wondering why they can't. I've seen a lot of stuff and dumb stuff. So it's the person. So you have these guys that, and I know people that could never kill a deer with a compound, or with a compound bow. I know people that, oh, I'm going to bow hunt, and they just couldn't do it. They can't kill them with a compound, so then they resort to a crossbow to try to make it a little bit easier. And again, trail cam. When it comes to hunting, trail cameras, cell cams, make it a little bit easier, right? Gives you a little bit of advantage. You know, box blinds make it a little bit easier. Compounds make it a little bit easier than hunting a recurve. Each one of these weapons make it a little bit easier to hunt. So I have no problem with the crossbow itself. If people want to come in to bow hunting, and shoot a crossbow, go ahead. I have no problem with it. But you still have to be a responsible hunter. Do I think people should come in bow hunting with a compound or a recurve? 100%. But if people want to use a crossbow, I think they should be allowed to, but still hunt responsibly.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, if if we talk about the people that should be allowed to use them, I would say they're good for kids to start out because kids like to go out in archery. Because the odds of seeing more deer and deer walking, instead of running, it's nice to have a kid in a box blind or something with a crossbow. They're going to see animals and might get a shot. So it's good for kids. It's nice to get women started in archery. Um, if they don't think they can shoot a compound, it's great for people that are handicapped, that have issues. Um, but I'm gonna make somebody mad right here and say, if woman, child, or man, if you can pull a compound back that is at least 55 pounds, 52 to 55 pounds, if you can get a bow back, I think you should be shooting a compound.
Hmm.
Um, like Dave said earlier, though, I've had crossbow. I have a crossbow. I've used it before. It is fun. I enjoy shooting deer with it. But when I use the crossbow, it is normally on a day that it's raining or the weather is bad, and I have a box blind. And rather than miss a night of hunting, I will go sit in a box blind with a crossbow because I hunt every available night that I can.
Hmm.
Um, that's just what I do. So I have shot a few deer with it, and it is fun. I do enjoy it. But when I can pull, when the weather's better and I can get in a tree stand and use a compound, I feel that others should also. Um, we posed the question, did crossbow hunters ruin archery? To a certain extent, they give archery a black eye. And the reason I say that is just because what I just was describing. You've got people that do not want to put in the work or the practice to use a compound or a recurve or something. It's a skill. It is a skill set. And some people don't have that skill set, so they opt for the crossbow. But if someone is able to use a compound, I think that they should practice and be responsible with it,
Hmm.
and and uh, and use it. I mean, but if you have some physical ailment or something, that's fine.
Hmm.
I don't I wouldn't have a problem with that. But when you have able-bodied people out there, I mean, here's the thing. Like you said, it does make it a little easier because what you get is a crossover. And here's what I mean by that. You get people that didn't used to archery hunt, but they gun hunt. Well, you can hold this thing up just like a gun and it has a
Hmm.
scope on it. and pull a trigger. So it's very easy to do that. So you get the people that were always complaining, saying, "Oh, the archery hunters always shoot the nice bucks before gun season ever comes." So what do? They go out and buy a crossbow, and now they call themselves archers,
Hmm.
and they want to come out and get a chance at a nice buck, which I don't blame them. I love
Now,
archery time.
do you think that I've seen this a lot on social media lately? Do you think that crossbow hunters are lowering the age structure of bucks because crossbow hunters are allowed to hunt all season long because it makes it a little bit easier. They can get a little bit further shots. Do you think it's hurting the deer herd?
Um,
Because the
there is a lot more trophy animals shot with crossbows now.
there is, yeah. But I
Um,
say this because people are comparing it to it's not a rifle, but
it is not.
you aim it like a rifle. I'm not saying that
Yes.
you can compare the two, but I'm just saying what I've seen is that people are saying an example of it would be if you let rifle season all season long and you have crossbow season all season long. So if you allowed gun hunters to hunt for 4 months of the season, our deer herd would be decimated. And they're saying that if crossbow hunters continued to hunt all season long, it's dramatically hurting the deer herd.
I mean, I think it's relative to the population you have in your area. I mean,
Hmm.
every place is going to be different. Right now, we're on a riding a wave here. The numbers are up right now in my area, which they weren't, 8, 10 years ago.
Hmm.
Um, so I think it's all relative to where you're at. But like I said earlier, you get that crossover, and you will get people that'll start knocking animals over. So I could see how that would hurt a population if you had a large population of people that were crossbow hunting in the
Hmm.
same areas.
Yeah.
Because, like we said earlier, again, it does make it a little easier for the person, the archer, to knock a deer down.
Well, I'm going to say this too is that, we both you have compounds.
Hmm.
I don't have a crossbow. You do.
Hmm.
Um, I'm not saying that because somebody is a compound bow hunter that they are superior. Because if you say something like that, you could say, okay, well, why don't the compound guys use recurves?
Recurves, yeah,
Or why don't you use a recurve and hunt from
right,
the ground?
right,
So there's steps in this.
yeah, for sure,
You could hunt from the ground with a recurve. You can hunt from the ground with a compound. Then you can start tree stand hunting with a recurve. Then you can start tree stand hunting with a compound. Then you get to a crossbow. Then you get to a gun. So
hmm
each one of these is a little bit easier. And you can
hmm
compare the my cell cams. Cell cams give us some intel,
yeah,
makes it a little bit easier. But like you said a couple minutes ago, being a vertical bow hunter, it does take a skill.
sure,
It takes a lot of skill to be able to kill a deer with a bow. I knew years ago some guys that were um, professional archers, they tournament shooters. You put them in a tree stand, they can't kill anything.
correct,
I've seen that over and over and over.
yeah,
Because it's a different skill.
sure,
So I've seen a lot of this stuff over the years.
hmm
So again, I'm not saying that their compound bow hunters are superior
right,
by any means. And I think, like I said in the beginning, is it all boils down to the actual person.
hmm Now,
Because
good.
good, good.
I was just going to say I have the crossbow because I bought it from my child,
Mm,
and figuring on my son being able to hunt with me. Um, but then, as some of you know, he was diagnosed with a pretty bad case of Crohn's disease, so he has not been able to hunt with me for years, like the last 8 years. Um, that being said, he never got to use the crossbow.
hmm.
So I had this brand new crossbow sitting here at the house, and I thought, why not use it once in a while? And so like I said, what I do is on these rainy occasions, instead of sitting on the couch, you can't shoot anything from the couch. I go into the shanty with the crossbow, and it's worked out a few times where I had doe come through in the nasty weather. I'm sitting in a nice dry shanty with a crossbow, and
You
I
cheater,
had
you.
yeah, and I had a tag to fill, and I filled it.
Is that what you shot last night with the crossbow?
No,
Oh, okay.
no,
Yeah.
no,
You
I did
do you
not.
know the legal draw weight in PA for compound?
I think it's 45-pound minimum.
Okay, I think Maryland's 35.
Okay.
35
I, I
pounds.
I think it's 45 minimum. I could be wrong.
Hmm. Hey, there's going to be a day where I'm old like you, and I can't pull a
Ouch.
can't pull a compound back no more. Guess what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna be crossbow hunting.
Well, I'm already on that plan.
Hmm.
I'm
But
I'm I'm 52. I'm
yeah,
figuring I'm
60.
figuring with the continued deterioration. I have 6 deteriorating discs, 3 in my back and 3 in my neck, and I have a torn rotator cuff in my shoulder. Between the two of those instances, I'm on a downward spiral here with age. So I'm figuring within the next 5 to 8 years, I'm probably going to be crossbow hunting.
What's your draw weight now?
I'm down to 62.
Okay, mine's 66, I think.
Yeah, I'm down to
Um,
62.
yeah.
But like last night, it took everything I had. First of all, it's cold and you got a lot of clothes on.
Hmm.
And I was sitting there for 3 hours getting stiff. And she came out 3 times to check out uh, a scrape that I have on the edge of my food plot. And she knew I was there. She looked up and saw me, but
Hmm.
didn't know what she saw. And she tried to get downwind of me a few times, and she couldn't. She kept The curiosity killed her. She kept coming back to that scrape, and the third time she came in, she had her back to me, and so did the fawns that was with her, and I was able to shoot her. Now, what I was getting at was my shoulders and my neck. I was so stiffened up, and she had her back to me, and I was at full draw. I would, without estimation or whatever, without
Exact.
exaggeration, I should say, I was at full draw for like 45 seconds. And man, at 62 pounds for me at 45 seconds with a bad shoulder, I was just like, I was on her, I was off her, I was off, I was hovering, and finally, when she turned broadside, I don't know what it is. It's like flipping a switch in me. I don't know why, but it's just the way I am, and I'm glad I am like this. But somehow I flip a switch, and when it's go time, I'm like a rock, and I'm on it and pull the trigger, and it's good. But the whole time before that, I'm shaking and hovering, and I'm all over the place.
Hmm.
But these instances, like we're saying, when people get older or have conditions, crossbows are going to keep you in the game.
Yeah. Is
And
when
I
I
would rather be in the game
yeah.
than sitting on the sidelines watching.
Yeah, when I start getting busted up and I can't do a bow no more, I'm gonna be going to a crossbow. Whatever
Yeah.
keeps me in the woods, you
Well,
know?
sad for me, it's coming quicker for me than it is going to be for you
Yeah.
because you're just a puppy.
Right.
But yeah,
Now, how far are you gonna shoot? How far do you shoot with a crossbow?
you know what? I sit out in the yard and I shoot this thing, and I still can only stretch out a 40 yarder
Hmm.
because I don't have a high tech one.
Right.
Like I said, I bought this thing like 8 years ago. So it was when they first were coming out with the better ones, and this one was like on the low end because I'm figuring I was buying this thing for a 9-year old,
Hmm.
and I'm thinking, I don't want to spend $800 on a crossbow for a 9-year old and he won't like it. Well, look what happened. Then he got diagnosed with the Crohn's and couldn't use it. So I'm glad I bought like a cheaper one, but it's not a really great one. And at 40 yards, I've got a pattern, it's like this big.
Hmm.
You
Now,
know,
would you agree that
I
every
would not
yard?
shoot that far.
Would you agree that every yard after 30, things start getting squirrely?
with the crossbow.
No, with a bow. Any kind of weapon, any
Any
kind of
weapon. Oh
any
yeah.
any bow.
I do not with
Because
any bow. I do
yeah,
not like shooting over 25.
I don't either. You never know how they're standing. You always think they're broadside when they're always a little bit
Yeah.
turned. You got branches. You have a small target. You have them ducking the arrow.
Yeah.
After 25, 30 yards,
Yeah.
things start to diminish. Things start to happen.
I
And
what kind of sight do you have? Do you have pins? I have 20, 25, and my third pin is at 35.
I have two pins, 20 and 30.
Okay. So 35 would be a totally max for me. I would
Hmm.
not shoot over 35. And like when I hunt food plots sometimes and I'm sitting there with the rangefinder and I'm looking at 35 yards, I'm thinking, man, that's far.
Hmm.
And it's really far in the woods. It feels
Yes.
like forever
Hmm.
35 yards in the woods. Even 25 yards. Like last night, this deer was at 23 yards. And I thought, man, she looks far, you know? And that, I don't know if it's me or my age or what, but everything looks far now. Like I don't even like to shoot over 20 anymore,
Hmm.
but I will shoot 25 if needed.
Yeah. I mean, if they're out straight out in the field, not no obstruction, I might stretch it to 35 to 40. I might take a 40-yard shot. I shot one.
Depends on how big it is.
You could stretch it to 40. It could be you can be okay. When you
Yeah.
start getting in the woods, though, the whole game changes with
Oh,
that.
for sure.
Um,
The
it,
unseens.
yeah, I mean, it's crazy. And
Mhm.
when I used to hunt with a lot of people years ago, when I was in these clubs and stuff, I mentioned that earlier. Um, I knew guys that had vertical bows, and all of a sudden they got 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80-yard pins on their bow.
No
And
thanks.
I would always ask them, I'm like, oh, how many deer have you shot at 80 yards? They're like, none. How many deer you shot at 60? None. How many deer you shot at 50? None. What do you got the pins for? If you're not shooting, practicing, or whatever at that far, like people just get this mindset that they can shoot these far distances. And when it goes into a moose or an elk, it's different.
It is
It
different.
it they react a little bit slower, and then if they're out at 100 yards, they're not going to hear the
Well,
you're not going to hear the bow, so they're not going to have the duck effect. So,
it's like you alluded to earlier, though, how I explained it to you before was it's it's the marketing of the industry that is
hmm
doing this to people.
hmm
Raven crossbows came out and said you can shoot 100 yards with this crossbow, and they showed somebody shooting long range, and it's packing them in there at 100 yards.
hmm
That's great. How much kinetic energy does it have at 100 yards?
hmm
What's in the way between you and that 100 yards that you're shooting at a deer?
and I'm sure
Like
they're
you said,
they're they're resting on a bench.
yeah, they're on a bench somewhere, but you don't have a bench at your tree stand or in your shanty or whatever. Um, if it's out in the middle of a food plot, maybe you can get away with hitting something that far, but I would just question kinetic energy and stuff at that distance. I'm not saying it can't be done. I'm not saying nobody can do it or it hasn't been done. I'm just saying the average person can't do it.
Yeah, I mean, look at this guy that I've referred to. I mean, he's seen these deer at like 80 yards, and he thought it was fun to sling an arrow at them.
Because he knew he could hit it,
Yeah,
but he didn't
but
know where he was going to hit it.
no, and he didn't care.
And it's not lethal.
No, he didn't care. He just like this guy was hunting for like because he thought it was like a joke. It was like fun. It was like fun. And he just decided to sling an arrow. I mean, you'd be upset too, right? That
Yeah.
guy should
Well,
never be able to hunt again.
here's, you know how I like to go into devil's advocate. I like to stir up the controversy.
You're
What do
drunk
you, no. What do you think? I think there's probably more poaching going on.
with crossbows?
Yep.
Probably, for sure.
Because you could go spotlighting, with a crossbow in a car. Nobody's going to hear it.
Hmm.
You know, here, hold the light. we'll be back for that. We'll drive
Hmm.
down the road and then we'll come back and pick that up.
Yep.
That type of thing. You know, um, I think it would encourage some poaching issues. You know, um,
There's more
what's
poaching that goes on that people know.
I'm sure.
There's
And and
so
and
there's
how do you
so much
brag
poaching,
about that? I mean,
right?
look at this buck I poached last night. How do you?
I knew I knew this kid growing up, and his I think it was his uncle maybe. His uncle, every single one of the bucks on his wall were shot illegally.
My
A
my
a
my.
100% of his bucks were
Look,
shot
look. I'm
illegally.
not sitting here and going to judge somebody. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I haven't done something in my past that But I've changed ways and I try to do the best I can. Um,
Yeah, but you don't
and
have a
I
wall
think
full of illegal deer.
no, but I think most people try to do the right things, and there's always going to be some spoiler out there doing something like this and putting a black eye on the public. And I guess that's my point of this whole discussion is just do the right things.
Yeah.
If you're gonna, even if you disagree with us and you have a crossbow and you're like, these guys don't know what they're talking about, at least do the right things, guys. I mean, if you're not going to do it for yourself, do it for the sport so you're not blackening our eye too. Um,
Well, nobody wants to see an animal suffer. I
no,
mean, your job is to kill it as quick as possible. I
yeah, it's
mean,
supposed to be humane. I mean, and
right. It's not funny. I
this
hate
is
killing something.
this is where we get into the whole fixed blade, expandable blade thing, and you shoot 100 yards, and you lose all your kinetic energy, and you've got a mechanical blade on the end of it, and that's why the arrow goes in this far, and they're running around with arrows sticking out of them, that type of thing. If you have a cut on contact, fixed blade on there, you might have a better chance. You just have to use some common sense. Don't shoot too far.
Hmm.
Practice, 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 and make sure your broadheads are sharp. You know, I don't know. People obviously some people are going to take offense to this
Well,
video.
like I said, I don't. That my only objection to crossbow hunting is the person. You like
Responsibility,
responsibility. Like, don't shoot deer at 80 yards.
right?
And people are going to say, "Well, I can do it." Well,
Yeah.
really? Okay. How many
What'd
times
that
have you?
guy say to you? I'm good to 100.
Yeah.
And what did you say? Obviously not.
Yeah.
Obviously
Yeah.
not. You're
I
not good
wasn't
at
gonna
it.
go that far, but yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, and he got mad at me, and he's like, "Well, I'm good to 100." And I said, "Well, obviously not." He's like,
Yeah.
"Well, who are you to tell me I can't do something?" I'm like, "Dude, I'm not telling you can't do something. I'm just saying it's pretty messed up,
It's
man,
not a good idea.
that you're slinging arrows at these deer and they're just running back there with arrows in them, and you're sitting in the parking lot laughing.
You're laughing
Like
about it.
that's not cool. Like
No.
that's not cool at all."
No.
So that was
So
that.
so did crossbow hunters ruin archery? That's 46.
Yeah, yeah. We'll leave it at that.
We can leave it there.
Yeah, we'll leave it there. Leave some comments.
S- Don't be
Bash us.
hating because I have a crossbow.
Bash Chris because he's drunk and he's a crossbow hunter.
He's drunk.
Nah, nah, guys. Thanks for listening. I just wanted to talk about that, get that part off
Yeah.
my chest because
Yeah,
when I saw it, I
when you hear
yeah.
this or you see this video, let us know what you think because I don't think we bashed anybody,
No, I'm not bashing any.
you know.
I'm bashing the people that shoot that
Bashing
do
bad apples is what
that,
we're doing.
that do dumb stuff.
We're making apple cider here.
Right,
We're fruit inspectors.
right. All
Yeah.
right.
Leave a comment.
Later, guys.
Bye.